Hi everyone, I'm Sheldon, and this week on Friday Farsight, we'll be discussing the singularity. That's a pretty complex concept, which we'll let Biff and Betty do most of the unpacking of, but briefly, it means that moment when technology is moving so fast that humans can no longer understand it, and has many implications for society. True believers believe this is coming fairly soon, 2030s, 2040s, about the latest. And so this is a somewhat contrarian prediction, as you'll discover. And I think it has some weight. I think that it does consider some of the breaks on this possibility and also the definitional problems with the concept that push it out further. But I should call out that because this is AI generated and because these models are built usually with older data sets, there are some cringy references to AI progress. So, mentions of GPT-4, mention of $200 billion a year being invested, when I think the current number is more like $800 billion. So there is a good argument that this prediction is a little more conservative than it might be if it had the latest knowledge of AI. But I do think there's a lot of validity to where it lands. So I did touch up some of the dialogue on the AI stuff to make it a little more contemporary, in particular in the area of the tests of intelligence that people devise and then put models up against. And there's a bit of an arms race. You'll hear Biff and Betty talk about it, where the tests keep getting harder that people are designing, and then the models keep getting better. Turns out that GPT 5.5 currently, and I think Gemini as well, do pretty good at the first two flavors of this main test that people use, the abstraction reasoning corpus. But the third version, which involves a lot more independent goal setting from the models, is still too challenging for anything, and could mean a fundamental problem with the way we're approaching AI. Could just be an arms race of tests. So I'll leave that up to the reader to decide what the right call is there. So anyway, the prediction is coming up, and we'll let Biff and Betty get into it. But I'll mention one more detail, which I thought was kind of amusing with creating this. So remember, this is AI-generated stuff, so we have to take it with a grain of salt. The prediction is AI-generated, as is the show. But one funny thing happened this week where the script generation generated this line I'll read to you, describing the positive version of the singularity, where we end up with post-scarcity economics. We all have enough to eat and everything. And so it described it this way. Humans consume, the gods produce. So the gods being our technological magic world that's built, making food and taking care of us and everything. So that's what the script said. And then the audio model, which is not supposed to rewrite the script, it's really trained just to voice it, voice the host. It rewrote the line to say, the gods consume, humans produce. So this told me that deep in our AI brains, there's this opinion about where we're headed that may not be aligned with what we might hope or what we might think. So we'll unpack that in a future episode around post-scarcity economics, where we'll have the model think deeply about which way things may go. And it could be that once our robots and AI models can take care of us, maybe they can take care of themselves just as well and may not need us anymore. So with that happy thought, I think we'll just hand it over to our hosts. Biff, what do you have for us this week?
All right, let's see here. The Technological Singularity by 2075, give or take 30 years. What are we, like, throwing darts at the wall?
Well, we're trying to pin down an event that would mark a profound convergence of technologies, but which, unfortunately, may lack a clear enough definition for rigorous analysis. Such is this week's prediction from Strategic Farsight. And welcome, by the way, to Friday Farsight, where every week we pick one of their forecasts and try to figure out what on earth it actually means.
Right, so, okay, before we even start, can we just appreciate the absurdity here? They're predicting the one thing that by its own definition cannot be predicted.
Exactly. That's the paradox sitting at the heart of this whole episode. The singularity is defined as the moment past which human beings can no longer foresee what comes next. So putting a year on it is, well, structurally a little absurd.
It's like asking an astronomer to tell you what's inside a black hole. The whole point of an event horizon is that nothing escapes, including information about what's on the other side.
That's actually where the name comes from. Von Neumann in the 50s started using singularity in this context, borrowing the word from physics, where a singularity is a point in spacetime where the equations stop working.
Inside a black hole, the Big Bang, the math just breaks. So they literally named this thing after the place where prediction goes to die.
They did. And yet here we are, trying to schedule it.
We will gather for the apocalypse on the third Thursday in September. There will be light hors d'oeuvres. All right, so Strategic Farsight is going to throw a number out there, and we are going to chew on it.
We are. And the number, again, is 2075, plus or minus 30 years.
Plus or minus 30, which means somewhere between 2045 and 2105.
Or never.
Or never, right, that's important. Or never.
That uncertainty, that 60-year window with a maybe not at all sitting at the end, that's honestly the most truthful thing about this prediction.
Okay, before we get to when, can we talk about what? Because every time I hear the word singularity, I feel like people mean 4 different things.
They do. 5, actually. Strategic Farsight breaks them apart. First, artificial general intelligence, AGI, AI that matches humans across the board.
As smart as us, everywhere.
Second, artificial superintelligence, or ASI, AI substantially beyond us.
Smarter than us, everywhere.
Third, the intelligence explosion. This is I.J. Good's idea from 1965. He was a British mathematician who worked with Alan Turing at Bletchley Park during the war, breaking the German codes.
Ground zero for the birth of the theory of computation.
Exactly, and in '65, he wrote a paper introducing what he called the ultra-intelligent machine. His argument was a single sentence. If you can build a machine that's better than humans at the task of designing machines, then that first machine designs an even better successor, and that one designs an even better one, and
it's off to the races.
he wrote, quote, "The ultra-intelligent machine is the last invention man need ever make, provided that the machine is docile enough to tell us how to keep it under control."
Whoa! Provided that the machine is docile enough to tell us how to keep it under control. That is a heck of a parenthetical to slip in there.
It's the entire alignment problem in 9 words, from 1965.
From 1965, while the rest of the world is still figuring out the 8-track tape.
Fourth, the economic singularity, the automation-driven transformation of labor.
That's a whole other episode.
Fifth, and most haunting, what's sometimes called the comprehension horizon, the point beyond which humans literally cannot follow what the technology is doing.
That's the one that gets me. That's the spooky one.
It's the one Strategic Farsight is really focused on, recursive self-improvement leading to intelligence beyond human predictive capacity.
So when we say singularity on this episode, we mean that one, the horizon, the black hole.
That's the one.
Okay, modern version of the idea. Who said it first?
The modern version comes from Werner Vinge, mathematician at San Diego State, also a science fiction novelist, won the Hugo Award a few times. Brilliant guy. He died a couple years ago.
I didn't know that. I've read a couple of his books. Even the space opera has a certain, scientific rigor, I'd say.
He was a serious thinker about the future. In 1993, he gave a talk at a NASA symposium called Vision 21 and wrote it up as an essay where he made a startlingly specific claim. He said, quote, "Within 30 years, we will have the technological means to create superhuman intelligence. Shortly after, the human era will be ended."
Within 30 years of 1993? That's 2023. Hold on. That was 3 years ago.
That was 3 years ago.
And yet, no singularity. Here I am, starring in my own podcast, laughing at the idea.
Our work is timeless, Biff.
Or did we just miss it?
We'll come back to that. The other big name is Ray Kurzweil. The singularity is near 2005. He puts the date at 2045.
Kurzweil. He's the law of accelerating returns guy.
He is. His basic move is to extrapolate Moore's law, the observation that the number of transistors on a chip roughly doubles every 18 to 24 months, and treat that exponential as a stand-in for technology in general.
More transistors, more compute, smarter machines.
That's the rough chain. And he argues this isn't just chips. Information technologies, plural, genetics, robotics, nanotech, AI, all improve exponentially. When you plot all the curves together, they shoot vertical around 2045.
And that's where he plants the flag.
Yes.
So we've got Vinci saying 2023, Kurzweil saying 2045, Strategic Farsight saying 2075.
They're saying the optimists keep being too optimistic and the skeptics keep being too skeptical, and somewhere in the middle is a defensible compromise.
Compromise, the least sexy word in futurism.
But probably the most honest.
All right, let's take the optimist case. How do we actually get from where we are to a recursively self-improving machine?
The argument is combinatorial acceleration. Each AI breakthrough makes it easier to build the next one. Eventually, if a system like GPT-6 or GPT-7 can meaningfully contribute to AI research itself, you start a feedback loop.
Okay, so it's like making a robot that knows how to build itself, but each time it improves the design and the next robot is even better at improving itself. It's evolution without all of that tedious natural selection business.
Constantly accelerating evolution. That's the optimist case in one image. The optimists themselves, Ben Goertzel, who founded Singularity Net, thinks AGI could arrive in the 2030s. Shane Legg, co-founder of DeepMind, has stuck with a 50-50 bet on AGI by 2028 for years. He literally writes it on his blog.
2028? That's like before my bank card expires.
It's very soon, and Sam Altman of OpenAI has publicly said AGI could come, quote, this decade.
Okay, but those are the CEOs of AI companies. They have a slight incentive to say their stuff is about to change the world.
Fair, but the case isn't purely hype. There's real evidence. GPT-4 demonstrated reasoning that was frankly hard to imagine 5 years before. And AlphaFold is the one I keep coming back to.
Refresh me, what did AlphaFold do?
So proteins are long chains of amino acids that fold up into three-dimensional shapes. The shape determines what the protein does, the way a key's teeth determine which lock it opens.
Okay.
For about 50 years, biologists tried to predict from just the sequence of amino acids what shape a given protein would fold into, the protein folding problem. Drug design, disease research, all of it depends on it.
Unsolved for 50 years.
Effectively, yes. Then, in 2020 and 2021, DeepMind's AlphaFold predicted the structures of basically every known protein, 200 million of them, and they made the database free for anyone to use.
Wait, 200 million proteins?
200 million, a problem that had stumped biology since the early 1970s, basically dissolved in about 2 years.
That's wild.
That's the kind of thing the optimists point to. It's not AI writes a sonnet. It's AI quietly closes a 50-year scientific bottleneck while you are watching Netflix.
Yeah, that changes how I think about this.
And the investment levels are unprecedented. Over $200 billion a year flowing into AI development.
$200 billion a year? That's like the entire annual GDP of New Zealand going into one technology.
Roughly. So the optimist case is look at the trend, look at the money, look at the breakthroughs. Each breakthrough enables the next. The evolution moves faster.
QED, we're done. Thanks for joining Friday Farside, everyone, because that's the flywheel we've been looking for, right? With all of this happening, is anyone really a skeptic?
The skeptics, and these are serious people, argue that current AI is hitting a wall. Gary Marcus, professor emeritus at NYU, wrote an essay in 2022 literally titled "Deep Learning is Hitting a Wall."
Subtle title.
He argues today's large language models are missing 4 things: real understanding, robust reasoning, they fall apart in novel situations, sample efficiency, they need millions of examples to learn what a toddler picks up from 2, and causal models. They know X correlates with Y, but they don't know Y.
So they're very expensive parrots.
That is roughly the critique. Francois Chalet, he created the Keras API, which a huge portion of working AI researchers use every day, calls today's systems curve-fitting machines.
Wait, hold on. Curve fitting. Like you draw 100 dots on a graph, the machine is really good at drawing the line that passes near all of them, but the machine has no idea what the graph is about.
That's exactly his point. And he built a benchmark called the ARC Challenge, Abstraction and Reasoning Corpus, to test for it. Little visual puzzles a kindergartner can do. Recognize a shape, continue a pattern.
And the AI bombs.
Until very recently, scoring in the teens. Humans get something like 80%.
The teens? These things write love letters, but they can't pass a kindergarten worksheet?
That's where the gap is most visible. Though it's worth mentioning these tests are like an arms race. The very latest models, which weren't known to the model that made the strategic farsight prediction, they kill the first version of the ARC test, and a couple models score in the 80% range on the second test.
Wait a minute. So we tell our AI progeny, just pass this test and you'll be human. They pass it and we move the goalpost.
Right. It's the debate about the nature of intelligence playing itself out in test design, with accusations flying that models are now being trained to the tests, or that they're using massive brute force test time compute rather than real intelligence.
Ugh, my head's spinning. Is there a third test?
Yes, a third version of the ARC test based on interactivity and dynamic goal discovery. The latest models are lucky to score 1%.
Sneaky. A test where we don't even tell them what the questions are.
But humans pass it easily. What this means is that Cholet's criticism still stands. We don't have superintelligence yet.
Okay, who else?
Rodney Brooks, founding director of MIT's CSAIL, the AI lab, founder of iRobot,
The Roomba people.
the Roomba people, the man who got us our friendly household robots.
That little disc that thinks the fringe of my rug is a cliff.
In a 2023 blog post, he predicted AGI no sooner than the year 2300.
2300? That's so far away, no one listening will even be there. It kind of becomes abstract at that point.
His argument is, quote, we're confusing performance with competence. Every AI breakthrough, expert systems in the 70s, neural nets in the 80s, deep learning in the 2010s, transformers now, initially looks like the path to AGI, then reveals fundamental limits.
So we keep summiting these mountains going, this is it. And then we get to the top and Everest is still on the horizon.
That's exactly his point.
I have respect for Brooks, the anti-hype entrepreneur. Can you imagine Elon Musk predicting anything arriving in 2300?
Well, Brooks is grounded, a scientist first. Then Melanie Mitchell, who wrote a wonderful book called Artificial Intelligence, A Guide for Thinking Humans, she makes a deeper point. Quote, the question isn't when AGI arrives, but whether our current approaches can get us there at all.
Whoa, so she's saying the road we're on might not lead to the destination.
We're driving down it very fast, but it might be the wrong road.
She's an embodied intelligence person, right? The idea that language isn't enough, a mind has to be rooted in the world.
Yes, and able to reason with analogy, not just extrapolate from data. And then, on the deepest end, you have Douglas Hofstadter and Jaron Lanier.
Hofstadter wrote Gödel, Escher, Bach, the book my college roommate carried around for 3 years and never finished.
It is dense.
I gather it's an ambitious reflection on the nature of mind, spanning art and science, i.e. evidence that he's thought about the topic.
I don't think your gloss will make the back cover, but yes. Hofstadter and Lanier basically question whether the concept of a singularity is even coherent. They suggest progress will be transformative, but gradual and comprehensible, not a sudden phase change. Lanier puts it this way: there's no actual moment where intelligence achieves escape velocity. It's just smart people building smart tools and slowly getting more done. The whole framing, in his view, is a religious projection. We've invented a tech rapture.
A tech rapture?
Yes, like the sky opens and we all melt into infinity. Their view is that the whole concept may be a category error, like asking what's north of the North Pole.
So that's the spectrum, 2028 on one end, 2300 on the other, and then off the chart entirely, the question itself is broken.
That's the spectrum.
That is a wild spread.
It's the widest range of expert opinion I've ever seen on any technology.
Can we talk about hardware for a second? Because all of this assumes we have the chips and the watts to run it.
Yes, and this is a real problem. Moore's law has been slowing. Transistors are now down to roughly the size of a single virus, a few nanometers across, and you can't really make them much smaller without quantum effects ruining the circuits.
So the curve Kurzweil was extrapolating is bending.
Right. Specialized AI chips and new architectures are still delivering gains, but the easy exponential of the past is ending.
How expensive are we talking?
Training GPT-4 reportedly cost over $100 million, tens of thousands of GPUs running for months.
$100 million for one training run.
And here's the kicker. A 2023 analysis by Epoch AI, a research group that tracks compute trends, estimated that if scaling laws continue as they have, we might need 10 to the 29th floating point operations to reach human-level AGI.
Floating point operations being...
A flop, one basic math operation, adding or multiplying two decimal numbers.
Okay, so 10 to the 29th, a 1 with 29 zeros after it. To give people a sense, the most powerful supercomputer in the world today does about 10 to the 18th flops per second. We're talking about a number 100 billion times larger.
Right. It is a number that doesn't really fit in a human head. And it requires either revolutionary hardware breakthroughs or decades of incremental progress just to get within reach.
Okay, here's something people are just starting to talk about. Where does the electricity come from?
Now you are asking the right question.
Am I?
You are. Training runs for frontier models already consume megawatt hours. A self-improving superintelligence might require energy on the scale of small nations.
Wait, a small nation? Like an actual country?
A small nation, that's the estimate.
So the singularity isn't gated by intelligence, it's gated by megawatts.
That's a real possibility, and it means geography starts to matter. Places with abundant cheap energy, Iceland's geothermal, the UAE's solar and nuclear, parts of Texas with cheap natural gas and wind, become the natural homes for the most powerful AI systems.
So we end up with intelligence-producing countries, the way some places are oil-producing countries today. In 2075, some places are cognition-producing countries.
That's a way to think about it.
And the entire geopolitical map redraws around megawatts and silicon.
It already is. Microsoft signed a deal to restart 3 Mile Island to power their data centers.
Wait, the 3 Mile Island? The meltdown 3 Mile Island?
Different reactor at the same site, but yes, they are restarting a nuclear power plant just to feed the AI build-out. That happened.
That might be the most 21st century sentence I have ever heard. Okay, so that's the hardware. What about the alignment problem?
This is the other big break. Alignment is the challenge of making sure advanced AI systems do what we actually want, not just what we literally told them.
Right. I asked the genie to make me happy, and now I'm a brain in a jar thing.
That's the cartoon version. Nick Bostrom wrote a whole book about it, Superintelligence 2014, arguing that even small misspecifications in goals could lead to catastrophic outcomes. His famous example is the paperclip maximizer.
You tell it to maximize paperclips, and it turns the entire planet into paperclips.
Absurdly, but yes. The AI is willing to sacrifice everything not specified in the goal in order to achieve it.
And Stuart Russell, he's the textbook guy.
He is. He co-wrote with Peter Norvig the textbook basically every undergraduate AI student in the world reads, plus a book for general readers, Human Compatible, 2019. His proposal is interesting. Build AI systems that are uncertain about human preferences and defer to human judgment when in doubt.
But if it's deferring to us, it can't really go off and self-improve into a god.
That is exactly the tension. The kind of AI that's safe is precisely not the kind of AI that triggers a singularity.
So safety and singularity are in conflict at the design level.
Fundamentally. And there's regulation pushing things toward the conservative direction. The EU AI Act passed in 2024. It classifies AI systems by risk tier. A chatbot is one tier, a system used for hiring is another. Certain uses, like social scoring, are banned outright.
So Europe is treating AI the way they treat food safety. Different categories, different rules.
That's a decent analogy. The U.S. Executive Order on AI Safety from late 2023 doesn't go that far, but it requires frontier model developers to report any training run above a certain compute threshold to the federal government.
The way nuclear stockpiles get reported.
Right. The regulatory treatment is increasingly that an extremely capable AI sits in the same category as a weapons system.
Okay.
And here is the line from Strategic Farsight that really hit me. The article says, this might be the first technology in human history where the winning move is not to play.
The winning move is not to play. That's a War Games reference.
It is, and not a casual one.
Greetings, Professor Falcon. Shall we play a game? Oh, I love that movie. It's about a computer that almost starts World War III because it can't tell the difference between the simulation and reality. And at the end, after playing tic-tac-toe against itself thousands of times, the only sane move it can find is, quote, the only winning move is not to play.
And it's a perfect framing for this. Because we didn't say no to fission, we didn't say no to CRISPR, we didn't say no to social media even after we saw what it did to teenagers. Saying no to the singularity would be a civilizational first.
And honestly, in a world of competing nations and 1,000 competing companies all racing each other, can we say no?
That is the trillion-dollar question. The game theory is brutal. If only one party slows down, the only thing they accomplish is making sure they are not the one who finishes first.
Right.
So slowing down requires global coordination, and the last time we managed real global coordination on a frontier technology was, arguably, never. We have non-proliferation treaties, sure. North Korea has nukes.
That is a very depressing observation.
It is, but it's worth saying out loud.
Yeah.
That said, none of that means the singularity is fated to happen. Markets, voters, even researchers themselves can act as brakes. The alignment work happening right now at Anthropic, OpenAI, DeepMind, the mechanistic interpretability stuff, where researchers are basically trying to take a kind of open MRI of a neural net to see how it thinks.
An MRI for a neural net?
Essentially, that work might genuinely buy us decades.
That is a comforting thought, and also a haunting one. Like we have to build the brain scanner and the brain at the same time.
Yes, that is exactly the bind.
Okay, step back. Let's say it does happen, either in 2045 or 2075 or 2100. What does it actually mean for ordinary people?
This is where it gets interesting for me, because intelligence, raw cognitive ability, has been the rare, expensive, prestigious resource for all of human history.
Right. Doctors, lawyers, professors, their whole authority is built on being smart.
If you build cheap, abundant intelligence, intelligence as a utility, like electricity, you change the structure of human society.
Wait, intelligence as a utility?
Think about it. 150 years ago, light was scarce. You needed candles, oil lamps, expensive labor. After dark, society basically shut down. Then we built the grid, and light became ambient. You flip a switch.
And our whole relationship to nighttime changed. We invented the night shift. We invented Vegas.
We invented Vegas, which would be a parody of human ambition if it weren't real. The point is, when a previously scarce resource becomes ambient, the entire texture of life reorganizes around it, and we barely notice we've done it. Now, do the same thing for cognition. Every human, expert-level reasoning for the price of a Netflix subscription.
Smart becomes basically free.
Smart becomes ambient, and the new scarce resources become wisdom, taste, judgment, kindness, trust. The things you can't easily generate by running more GPUs.
Oh, Oh, that's a real reframe.
It changes what we admire about each other, what we hire each other for, what we educate kids for.
We'd have to redefine what childhood is for.
We really would.
I mean, half of school right now is learning to be the kind of person who can answer hard questions on demand.
Right.
If the question answering is ambient, we'd be raising kids for what? Character, imagination, friendship?
Maybe those things would finally get the attention they deserve. The things schools have always paid lip service to.
Or maybe we don't know how to teach those things at scale, and we end up with a society of very efficient, very empty people.
Either is possible.
Okay, I gotta push back on the bright side framing for a sec, because even if all of that is true, we're talking about a future in which humanity is no longer the smartest thing on the planet.
That's right.
For 4 million years since we split from our last common ancestor with chimpanzees, we have been at the top of the cognitive food chain. Now we wouldn't be.
Nope.
What does that do to a species, psychologically, spiritually?
Honestly, Biff, I don't know. We have never been in this position. The closest analogy I can think of is religious, the way humans have, in various traditions, imagined gods or angels or older intelligences. But those were always imagined. They lived in the sky. This would be real and built by us, and probably housed in a data center outside of Reykjavik.
Built by us. That's the kicker. We're not finding it. We're building it. We're summoning it.
We are summoning it.
You know, the Prometheus myth is the obvious image, stealing fire from the gods. But this is something different. We're inventing the very gods that could put fire into the world in the first place.
That's sharper.
The gods invent things, build things, so we can live happy lives, as long as we don't provoke their wrath.
Humans consume, the gods produce. It's the Garden of Eden if we can navigate the social change.
Which involves the entire educated middle class seeing their economic value change, let's say.
Ultimately, we may not value human beings as economic entities at all.
All right, radical change, a radical upending of society. Forget Prometheus. What this reminds me of is Frankenstein. Frankenstein isn't a story about a monster. It's a story about a man who didn't think about the consequences of making something he couldn't take back.
And Mary Shelley wrote that at 19. The whole modern myth of the unintended consequences of creation, written by a teenager.
At 19?
19.
I guess that's a call out to our younger listeners. Maybe you're the ones who will see this thing coming. Maybe you'll be the ones who know how to adapt, assuming humanity isn't optimized out of existence.
It might be hard to spot, actually, the singularity, since there's no consensus on what it actually will look like.
Which reminds me of a question that's been bugging me. Could it be that we already passed it? Like the comprehension horizon? Are we already past it and we just don't know?
Strategic Farsight raises this directly. The article points out that most people already can't follow cutting-edge research in quantum computing, in protein folding, and machine learning alignment. The mechanistic interpretability stuff I mentioned, there are maybe a few hundred people on the planet who can read those papers and form a real opinion.
Out of 8 billion of us.
The tiniest fraction. And only a tiny fraction of us are truly competent in any given frontier of knowledge. So how would we even know when we'd cross the line?
Right. The singularity might not be a thunderclap. It might just be a slow tide. Everybody wakes up one Tuesday and goes, none of us actually understand what's happening anymore. And then we go back to making coffee.
Yeah.
The tide might already be carrying us out to sea.
It might.
That is the kind of thought that wakes me up at 2 a.m.
Sorry about that.
At least we have those experts out there keeping an eye on things.
Maybe not for long. There's a paper from late 2024 where a system designed its own machine learning experiments, ran them, and wrote them up. The human authors basically wrote the introduction.
Wait, that happened? That already happened?
That happened.
So we are watching the prologue.
Possibly. There are many examples of automation speeding up AI innovation.
Okay, let me try to land this. What's the takeaway?
I think there are 3. First, don't fixate on 2075. The real headline is the interval, 2045 to 2105, or never. That's the actual prediction.
2045 to never.
Got it.
Second, the singularity, if it happens, may not arrive with a bang. It might arrive as a slow tide of incomprehensibility, and we may already be waiting in it.
Yeah, I feel the incomprehensibility just trying to get through this podcast.
Third, this might be the first technology in human history where the winning move is not to play. And we are playing anyway because in a competitive world, nobody trusts anybody else to stop.
That's heavy. And there is something kind of beautiful about the honesty of this particular prediction, you know? Most futurism pretends to know. This one says, we don't know, here are the reasons, here's a range, and the range is the size of 2 human lifetimes.
That is why I love working through these strategic farsight predictions. They show their work. They tell you what they're uncertain about. They give you the math instead of the prophecy.
All right, to everyone listening, thank you for spending part of your Friday with us. If you want to dig into this one, and there's a lot more there, the energy estimates, the alignment debate, the full timeline analysis, head over to Strategic Farsight and read the full article on the technological singularity.
New prediction next Friday. We'll see you then.